Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and it is day one of our fabulous February 2023 release. Hey, so I'm using Jaded Blossom's We're Better Together stamp set, along with their Kawaii Foods stamp set, our mini tag dies 3, our stitch circle dies, and the scalloped circle dies, along with our stitch square dies, our card mat dies, and the brand new stamp set Lucky Vibes. So I have two card bases, an A2 size vertical card, 4.25 by 11, scored at 5.5 inches with my Teflon bone folder, cut out of paper tray ink craft cardstock. And then I have a 4.25 inch square card. So that's 4.25 by 8.5, scored at 4.25. Okay, so now I went ahead and I cut out Concord and Ninths clover cardstock, and I'm cutting it to be the exact same size as the front of this card base. I didn't have the right color green, but Concord and Ninths clover cardstock was the right color green for this, so I just trimmed it down. I'll trim off the overhang because, you know when you're cutting, it's never perfect sometimes, right? We like to pretend it is, but we make mistakes. That's all I can say. So there, used my Teflon bone folder. I'm going to do the same thing to this other card. So they're going to be craft on the inside, but they're going to be this color green on the outside. There you have it. And I will just sort of line those up. And there you go. Okie dokie. So there you have that. Okay, so now I have Lucky Clover Distress Oxide ink. And I'm pulling out the stamp set. That is that Kawaii Foods, I believe. Kawaii Foods is, or no, that's the smaller one. We're Better Together. It's a little beer, and I'm, stamping it all over this background. Now this background, or this stitch square die, I'm going to measure it as I'm talking to you because I didn't think to tell you which size I used. It is 4 inches square. So it's, gives you a nice border around an A2 size or an A2 size square card, right? It'll fit in an A2 size card base. So I'm just freehand stamping this with an acrylic block. Distress Oxide inks are great for this, right? This ink matches that clover cardstock from Concord and Ninth kind of perfectly, so that worked out. And you'll see that I'm stamping on a piece of foam, fun foam, and it just gives you a little bit of give. So it makes it, a little more forgiving, right? So I'm just making my own pattern paper, which is so fun. And there you have it. So I'm going to do the exact same thing now, but I'm going to do it on an A2 size card base, or this is the card mat die. So that's 4 by 5.25 inch rectangle that I cut out with that die, like I said, from the card mat dies. And I'm going to stamp the larger beer from the Kawaii Foods stamp set. And I'm just going to stamp it willy-nilly all over this Nina Solar, or Nina Desert Storm 80-pound cardstock. Sorry, guys. The card base was paper tray ink craft, but these are Nina Desert Storm 80-pound for the layer on the front. So I'm just stamping this willy-nilly, like I said. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm just making pattern paper. So green beer all over this paper. So isn't that cute? I just think this is a super cute little beer. There you have it. So I did pull out my glasses dies, and I cut out this small pair of glasses with that same Concord and Ninth clover cardstock using my Gemini machine. And that's going to go on that beer right there. And you'll see the sentiment that I stamped for that one, Let's Get Shamrocked. That's that new stamp set from Lucky Vibes. There is outline dies to go along with this that you can get, but I did not use them this time. I used our mini tag dies 3. So I stamped it onto Nina Desert Storm 80-pound cardstock with VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink and cut it out with our mini tag dies 3. So now I'm sticking down my stamped background onto my card base with ATG tape. I'm going to do the same thing to my square card. So nice and easy stuff. These are really simple cards to do. I've done these in the past, actually. So if you don't want to color, you don't have to color. You can use images however you like. You can stamp images and make a background with colored ink, and don't color anything if you don't want to, right? I'm pulling out the Foodie Faces from Jaded Blossom. Sorry, guys. And I'm going to use my VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink, and I'm going to add little faces to these beer because, of course, beer need faces, right? And the nice thing about this Foodie Faces, is it called Foodie Faces? I always mix these things up. It is called, yeah, Foodie Faces. The nice thing about these faces are they're made to fit into these images from Jaded Blossom. So you'll find the faces fit a lot of their images. So you can make anything into people, right? So these are going to be little beer people. There we go. Now this could be root beer, if you like, right? You could color it as, you know, little brown root beer, which would be super cute, like a little A&W root beer. Lots of fun. So I'm just adding on, like I want to add a few different faces to the background of this. And I'm going to stick down the sentiment. You'll see that the background piece for the mini tag dies 3 was cut out of that same Clover cardstock from Concord and Ninth. And then I'm going to add on my sentiment in the lower right-hand corner, right? I'll line it up with the outer framed edge of the card base. And there you go. So kind of fun. And now I'm going to take some reverse tweezers and my art glitter glue, and I'm just going to glue these little glasses on that one beer, because I'm going to make the one beer stand out, right? I'm going to make that one a little special. So I'm going to give them some peepers, some glasses, and then I'm using Altenews Essential Black and White enamel dots, and I'm just going to use the smallest ones to add 2 little pupils to his face, because, you know, how cute is that, right? We're going to have the straight man on the card there. So now I'm going to add in a strip of paper. I think it's 1-inch strip of Doodlebugs. I think that is from the Pot of Gold 6-inch pad. And I'm just going to add that to the inside of each card just to make it, you know, like I always say, a little bit more special, right? And now for this card front, I know I'm jumping back and forth, but this is kind of how I work when I'm making more than one card. Right? So I'm going to stamp on the little faces on these little beer, and I'm using the same stamp set because there are different sizes, which is kind of fun, right? So I'm just kind of trying to mix up the background a little bit. And, you know, the nice thing about like that VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink, it's really juicy. It really stamps clearly. It's great for sentiments, which I use quite a bit, right? So it's like, it really, you know, if you're a freehand stamper, this is a good ink for you. Now, obviously, you know, a stamp positioner like a Misty makes any ink a little bit more forgiving because you could restamp it if you need to. Obviously, if you're using a freehand acrylic block, it's really difficult to do that. I don't advise trying to reline it up. It is so hard. You're going to get mad at yourself because you're going to make a mistake and then you're going to be upset. So I always say, I try not to do that. There we go. I always make sure I'm using like a juicy ink, you know, when I'm doing freehand stamping, like a pigment ink, you know. There we go. So I'm going to stick down this sentiment. This one says drink, drank, drunk, which kind of reminds me of the Grinch, right? Is it think, thank, thunk? I can't remember, something like that. It cracks me up, but I thought it would be funny, a little funny sentiment for the front of this little card. And so that is I'm just going to measure it as I'm talking to you so I can tell you. That is Jaded Blossom's 2-inch diameter stitch circle. And then the Scalloped Circle is like just shy of 2.5 inches in diameter. And that's, you know, the Scalloped Circle is cut out of that same Concord and Ninth Clover cardstock. So now I'm pulling out Studio Katya's 3mm Google Eyes, because you've seen me use these before. I'm using my art glitter glue, picking it up with my Studio Katya embellishment wand, and I'm making one special. I'm going to give one googly eyes, because, you know, how fun are googly eyes? I love, and especially these little tiny ones, they are so fun. So I'm going to add that 1-inch strip, the same thing I did on the other card, and just trim off the overhang there. Isn't that sweet? I just think it's adorable. Now I'm pulling out my Sakura White Jelly Roll pen in a number 10. And I'm just going to be adding some highlights to the eyes. And then it hits me that I should, you know, highlight the foam of this beer. And you'll see that in a minute. I think it really adds something without coloring these images, right? we don't always want to color. Coloring takes a long time sometimes, longer than we really want to do, right? Sometimes we just want to make a card and we don't want to color it. We just want to stamp and be done, you know? Make a quick card, get our creative juices flowing. We don't need to color every single time. And I'm a proponent of that. Like, you don't always have to color. Like, there are adorable images to color, don't get me wrong. But sometimes die cutting and just stamping with no coloring is so much fun. So there we are. I'm just sort of highlighting the foam with that Secure White Jelly Roll pen and number 10. Really bold white highlights, which I think is just great. So I'm just quickly doing that. And I think it adds a lot to this. It adds a lot of interest. You know, so I highlighted the little images with the pupils, right, with the big black eyes. And now I'm highlighting the foam. And I'm going to do that on both cards because I just think it really adds something. And you can tell me of what you think, but I think it's adorable. So it's kind of my jam. I use a Secure White Jelly Roll pen and a number 10 for all my highlights because I just think you get the best highlights using that. There we go. I know I'm kind of eating up a lot of time. I did fast forward this, people, so it didn't take me a super long time, but it takes a little bit of time to do it, right? It's not exactly precision work. I'm just sort of tracing along, and it doesn't even have to really follow those bubbles. Really, I'm just sort of highlighting. But I think this turned out really cute. If you wanted to, you could have added glossy accents to the glasses. That would have been fun. I just didn't feel like waiting to have that dry today. But easily that would look great, you know. I really like that I used the Distress Oxide inks to stamp the green beer. I think it just makes it look more, you know, St. Patrick's Day-like. But if you wanted to do this kind of card for a birthday, like say a guy birthday, you could use black. You could stamp all those backgrounds in black, or you could use any color, right? You could use blue. Whatever kind of turns your crank, you could use and enjoy. So now I'm pulling out Altenews Essential Black and White dots, and I'm just going to add a few white ones to the background just to add a little something something, right? And it's simple because, you know, no glue's involved with this. This makes some nice, easy, quick embellishments on a card, adds a little bit of shine to a pretty flat card. Like I know I did pop up that circle sentiment, but the other one is pretty flat. Like it would be, you know, easy to mail. And there you go. I'm just using my pen blade to pick them up because it's kind of hard to get them off that acetate backing without something, right? And there you go. Now I'm pulling out, I pulled out Jaded Blossom's banner dies, and I cut out Doodlebug paper. I think it's the Pot of Gold 6-inch pad, and I just cut out these little banners. So the one with the little shamrocks on it is from that pad, and the other one is from the Rainbow Petite Prints in the dot grid in the 12-inch. And I also am using Doodlebug's odds and ends, and I'm going to add some little images to the inside of my cards to make them special. Right, so I'll add a little shamrock to the inside, and I'm also going to use sentiments from that same odds and ends on the inside that you will see in the picture a little later. So that's all. Thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog, be inspired, the Jaded Blossom store, to maybe get your hands on the Gotta Have It Now. And come back tomorrow for another video, because there will be videos. And as always, I appreciate you stopping by, and hopefully we will see you soon tomorrow. Bye, everyone.